warehouse is open. Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 44. Another one of the fantastically fun collector spotlights. I'm Scott, along with this time, Blue Jackets collector Rob Kotowski. Rob, welcome inside the warehouse. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man, and thanks for making time. For those of you watching, great setup. Rob looks like he's live from a pro shop. We got an Adam Foote, we got a Gaudreau, we got a Nash, we got a Fedorov. We got stuff on the walls. I'm going to get to all that in just a little bit. Tell me about Rob during the daytime. Family man, job. What do you do besides this love of fabric that we all seem to share?
Definitely a family man of all women in the house. I got a beautiful wife and three young daughters. Grew up with three older sisters, so I definitely know what I'm in for as they get a little bit older. But during the daytime, I'm a marine fabricator. I work on boats. We design custom interiors on any type of boat, tops, covers, upholstery. A lot of one-of-a-kind projects that we design. So never a dull moment in our office. And I always like to say that if you ever watch those home DIY shows where they say move that bus, we're kind of like move that boat, and we definitely like to give that wow factor to our customers.
So I want to keep it here just for a little bit because this is fascinating to me. It's better than a friend is a friend with a boat, and I'm lucky enough to have one, and he takes us. I'm just outside of DC, so whenever my buddy Jay, it rhymes with Jay. I'm not going to sell him out on the podcast. Let's just say his name's Jay. It's Jay. Whenever Jay calls or texts and says, "Hey, you guys want to come out? And we'll go over to the Chesapeake Bay and we'll go across and crabs or, whatever." I don't say no, Rob. I love having a friend. He's a great friend, but I love having a friend with a boat. Every time I'm on that boat, it's like it's my first time being on that boat. And I didn't grow up in that sort of, lane at all.
Yeah.
And now it's obviously, whether you like Jimmy Buffett or you like Old Man in the Sea, or you go for pleasure cruise or for fishing or for just whatever reason, it's something to behold, brother. I'm a huge fan of that. And you have a pretty cool job. How did you get into that, by the way? Because that's not something like, oh, I went to school to become a chef, or I went to school to become a broadcaster, or I went to medical school or law school or business school. That's a niche right there, sir.
Yeah, it was. It's called child labor. It was a family business, and I kind of grew up. I really didn't have many babysitters. My babysitters were the people at the shop working. So I would come there and I'd cause hell all the time there. But never my wildest dreams thought I'd be actually doing this for a living, because I hated it when I was younger. But I realized after a while, after I went to school and graduated and finished up college, that I thought I was actually pretty good at it. So me and my dad, he's like, I really don't need another shop. And I said, well, let's do it. He goes, well, you're either in or you're out. He goes, because I'm content where we're at right now. And I said, I'm in, and that's kind of how it's fallen. So I've been doing this for probably 23 years full time. So, but I grew up around it my whole life.
Very, very cool. Thank you for sharing that part of it. And of course, it helps to support what is a pretty amazing hobby, this game-worn world. What got you interested into the game-worn universe?
I just think just having something from a player, part of the game. Definitely the older jerseys have a lot more wear. They didn't have so many shirts out there. So you definitely got to see the battle wounds on those jerseys, and it was kind of neat to see. And I remember back in the day, Milt Byron used to come to our local trade show, and he would just set up like a metropolis of jerseys everywhere. And I was just in awe, and I could never afford them, when I was 15, 16 years old. And I started off collecting game used sticks, and that was kind of a cool thing to get. And once in a while, the players would give me sticks. And that's kind of how I got into the hobby of collecting game used equipment and stuff like that. And then my very first game worn jersey was always a Wings fan. I know I'm from Detroit, and people say, what the hell are you collecting Columbus stuff for? Because, the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. But it's my first, I was always a big fan of Nicholas Lidstrom. and it's ever since he was a rookie till the day he retired. Always collected his stuff, and it was a 1996-97 Nike red road Lidstrom jersey that I got, and I got a pretty good deal on it back then. I paid $1,200 for it, so I think I did all right on that one. But that was my first game worn jersey, and ever since that, it was kind of like add one here, add one there, and then kept growing the collection.
Rob, it's not often that the first sweater is a centerpiece of a collection sweater. Usually it's, let me dip my toe in the water, and you start with, no shade at anybody, you start with sort of a maybe a lower end. You're like, I want to see if I like this. Or I really like this player, and he's not a star because I don't have a ton of money to spend on it. And $1,200 may be a ton for some. Maybe it's, back then, that was still a wonderful price. And I'll ask you if you still have the number 5 in a second. But the fact that you were able to jump in on that is also a story in and of itself, because a lot of guys start, and girls and people that collect, they're like, yeah, I just want a third liner or a fourth liner, somebody that's popular in my area, and I'm good. The basic outlay is $400 or something like that. And again, that's the good part about this hobby. There are no hard and fast rules. You want to jump in and make a splash with a $1,200 acquisition for a future Hall of Famer, more power to you. But a lot of times it's, I made a trade, or I picked up a $450, defenseman, and I loved it. That's what really grew me on the hobby. The fact that you got in with a Lidstrom really is, I think this is the first time that it's like swing, and your first hit was a home run. Way to go, brother. Way to go. Do you still have the Lidstrom in the collection?
Absolutely. It's not going anywhere. I told my wife, you can bury me in it. I says it's not going anywhere. So when you said, $1,200 back then, when I think I was 16 or 17.
That's a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. I made three payments of $400 to him. And it took, I think, 6 months for me to get the jersey off of him, but he was patient. He knew I liked them. I wanted it. And he was like, I'd like you to have the jersey. So I said, will you work with me? He goes, absolutely. So it was just one of those cool memories that I got. And so
that's tremendous. Very, very cool initial exposure to the hobby. When did we, and by the way, now the timing of this episode is perfect, because we just finished up with some flag planting, a post-game brawl, Michigan, Ohio State, and a whole mess of stuff. Should I even ask what side of the fence you are on that these days? Because, of course, in Columbus, it's where the Ohio State University resides. I believe at last check, 13th largest city in the United States of America, home of Nationwide, home of the arena, and a massive university. When they play Go Blue, what do you do these days?
Go Blue.
Okay. Always.
Always.
There's no dual citizenship for something like that. All right. So we go from Detroit. When did we indoctrinate ourselves into the Blue Jackets nation? And have you looked back since then?
So, I collect, I still like the Wings, and Lidstrom, like I said, is my favorite player. So anytime I get an opportunity to pick up a jersey of his, I will, as long as it's, within range. But, back in the mid 90s, it was tough to get tickets to Joe Louis Arena to go watch the Wings play. You were paying top dollar. I didn't have that kind of money. My parents didn't have that kind of money. So, I went to 5 games a year, or 4 games a year, and they were the preseason games, and I could get in there. I was the last row, Velcroed to the wall at Joe Louis Arena, but I was able to get in there and watch the Wings play. Once in a while, I would trade, some autograph stuff that I'd get to other collectors, and they'd get me a pair of tickets, and I'd go to a game here or there. But it was really hard to get tickets at Joe Louis. So I ended up taking on a job for a couple of years down in Columbus, doing some marketing stuff. And during the early part of the season until right about now, when it's Ohio State football, you could easily get tickets to a hockey game in Columbus right when they started. They have a huge fan base. The fan base there is amazing. We had season tickets there for a long time. I'd make the drive from Detroit down to Columbus to watch them play. But I got to go to games. I got to go to games, experience more games. Got to get, we got really good seats for cheap prices there So you could really get down there, see the players and meet the players and stuff like that. And they would stay literally like one block away from the hotel. So we'd get autographs from other teams and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a cool area down there. And we ended up just, I started following the team right from basically inception. And, Jeff Sanderson was one of my favorite players, watching him play. And, Mark Denis when he was with the Avs, and all of a sudden he gets traded to Columbus. So, there was a lot of, especially when the expansion first happened, and then the big hoopla when Nash got drafted and the type of player that he was always great with the fans. And so he, getting stuff signed by him or bringing a jersey up to him to show him and stuff like that. He was always cool about it. So, that's pretty much how I got, the players were just really genuine. They were good. They're good community guys. It's a good city. But then, I moved back to Detroit and still had the passion of the Jackets team and been collecting ever since.
Pretty impressive stuff. All right, so shared experience for the 98 finals when the Wings took care of the Capitals. I also was in the last row for the finals, but I had a media credential. At that time, I was doing Capitals pre and post game, and they did not give the road radio a booth. They put us up on the last row against that wall. So I was there the night that Tikkanen may or may not have missed an empty net and whatever. But I know one of those sections very, very well. And the play-by-play guy at the time, a friend of mine named Steve, who no longer is in that sort of business, I remember sitting with him and having to console him. And then we may or may not have gone to Windsor and had some pizza and some beer, something like that. But that's a story for another podcast, Rob. It's Rob Kotowski, Blue Jackets collector Spotlight, Tales from the Warehouse, volume number 44. How many Jackets pieces do you currently own? And is there, again, over your shoulder, you can have some new, but the color span, the scheme, and those players, Rob, you've done very, very well in this collecting space, sir.
Yeah, I've never really done a count. And I actually, when I was talking with Dave earlier this week, when he asked me to come on and do the podcast, he's like, "Well, see, maybe how many you got?" And I did a count today, and I was actually surprised. I got 222 shirts.
Oh my goodness, good for you.
So I don't tell my wife that, but
I was going to say, we'll have to make her a listener of Tales from the Warehouse. I'm going to make sure she gets a video copy. We're going to email them. No, we're not.
The good thing about it is that she knew about my sickness or hobby before we got married. So she's on board. She definitely likes, I just picked up a cool jersey the other day, and she saw it and she's like, "No, that's pretty sweet." So I was like, "All right, you're on board." So
I always ask this bit, of collectors, and it's a tough answer. It's like, what's your favorite? I don't know. I have like 2 or 3 favorites, or I have 7 favorites. Or if you have a collection of 220 plus pieces, maybe you have 8 or 10, or it's all of these players. Is there something that stands out? Is there a favorite? And again, I know it's sort of a silly question, Rob.
Yeah. My Lidstrom game worn jerseys, those are like my number one, but being that we're talking Blue Jackets, yes. I would have to say my inaugurals. I got a Jeff Sanderson, I got a Tyler Wright, I got the Ron Tugnut, which is like, I would say the holy grail of the Blue Jackets right there. That, he was loved by the whole town. There were signs of Tugnut for president and stuff like that when he came in. So, those are right there behind there. So.
Tremendous stuff. Is there a sub collection in there? Again, sort of player specific, or look, it's Blue Jackets and the Blue Jacket universe, and I have inaugurals. Great. I have, are you into certain style of alt as well? Or if it falls under the CBJ umbrella, you're in.
I'm in on most shirts, but the other player that I really follow on Columbus Blue Jackets ever since he started with the team was Zach Werenski. Always been a big fan. Got probably about 38 of his jerseys. And it's just kind of, he's actually came to my shop one time, and it was when they just got out of playing in the bubble in Toronto. A good buddy of mine coached him with Little Caesars, and he's a local guy here, lives literally, 10 minutes up the road from my office. And a customer of mine knew how much of a fan I was of Z, and he basically called him up and says, "Hey, go stop by, go see my buddy Rob over there." So he stopped in. My daughter, actually, I told my daughter that he was going to be coming to the office. She's like, "Can I skip school?" I said, "Absolutely." So she stayed, and it was getting close to like closing time. And I called up my buddy. I said, "I think he might have forgot or he's busy." And he goes, "Let me give him a call." And he completely forgot and he fell asleep. So he ended up coming over to the shop and took pictures and actually had him sign the bubble jersey. I had him, I wasn't going to get rid of this one. This was going to be, for me. So he signed the jersey, which I know is a big no-no for a lot of people. They don't like autographs on it, but this is one shirt that I'm keeping. I'm going to get it framed up and put it in my main office. But he took a picture with me, my dad, my daughter, signed a couple pucks for my daughter, signed a couple helmets for me. And, it was a really cool experience. Got about 30 minutes with him to hang out. And, it was kind of a cool experience. Nice guy. So
It sounds like it. Again, you earlier mentioned earlier in the podcast that, the sense of community around Columbus and just good dudes and exposure in Detroit as well. It's amazing what that does to us as fans and drives the collecting passion just a little bit harder. You want to connect further. It's not just, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not just turning on a TV and saying, "I love that guy. He just scored a couple of great goals," or "I love that guy. He just delivered a couple of bone-crushing hits," or "I love that guy. He just made some great saves," and there's scuffs and marks and such all over his goaltender sweater. I'm in. You get to then connect through business or through community or through what have you. And it adds a little bit more fuel to the collecting fire. That's always a very interesting and cooler angle to me.
yeah.
When you're looking for a game-worn sweater, is there something you look for? Again, I know we've established under the Columbus umbrella, but are you a wear and tear guy? Are you are you a milestone guy?
Me personally, a lot of people like the milestones, which is cool. But to me, more wear and tear on the jerseys. That to me I like that more as a collector than the milestones. That milestones are great, but it's when you throw them in the jersey rack, it's I'd rather have a jersey that just beat the hell that you can show like check this out. And like I have a Josh Anderson jersey where he fought Zdeno Chara, and the jersey came to me. Like I had no idea how the jersey was gonna come. It was a pre-order, and like I was able to video match it, and it's literally ripped from here to here. And you could see it when he was in the penalty box after. It was just ripped to hell. So that was kind of a cool jersey. I got a couple people that are like, "If you ever want to get rid of that, let me know." And I'm like, that's kind of one I like to keep because there's some battle wounds on that one. So
Do you find yourself, Rob, DVRing games to just go, "Hey, that's," a lot of people are huge into the photo match, and our friends at MeiGray do a most wonderful job, and there's technology available to help, even if you don't want the extra assistance. But, some of my friends / fans, they'll load up a DVR or a TiVo or, some sort of whatever, save a bunch of YouTubes because they're in love with going, "Hey, not only did I pre-order that, I was there if I could be, and if I can't be, I'm gonna, I'm gonna save 5 minutes, 10 minutes, download NHL highlights of an Anderson Chara fight or something like that." Do you find yourself dipping into that?
yeah, I'm always looking. I'm definitely always looking. Or if I get a jersey that there's a definite significant marking somewhere, then I'm starting to dig and I'm digging, and my wife will walk in like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, just looking for some evidence here. So
I'm doing homework. That's all. Just, research, I believe,
yeah,
research and development or something like that. Talking to Blue Jackets collector Rob Kotowski. It's MeiGray's Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 44, another one of the fun collector spotlights. Of late, things have been better. Talk to me about the on-ice performance this season with regard to your expectations entering the season, and obviously what was a tragic offseason and start.
yeah, it was definitely a tragic off season. It was one of those situations where I wanted to go to the home opener, but I didn't know like emotion wise how it would be. And my wife's like, "Just go." So me and my daughter, we drove. It was like a 2 o'clock decision to go, and it's about 3.5 hour drive to get down there. And we got there, and it was definitely a lot of emotion at that game. But you didn't really know. You didn't know. I mean, to this day, I mean, you still don't really know how the team is going to keep rebounding from what they're doing. They seem to be playing a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
from how they started. I'm I'm watching Werenski right now kill it out there, which is great. I'm always cheering him on. But Monahan's doing a great job for the team right now, and it's just it's one of those things where they got some grit. That's what they need, and I really I didn't think they were going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Sure.
But I'm hoping that they'll boost up a little bit more as they continue to keep playing with some confidence and stuff like that. So
this, of course, the first year for Fanatics. As a collector, did you have expectations going in? I know we all were not guilty, or just maybe being honest with ourselves, going, you know what? We've all read the horror stories about the replica. Perhaps we've purchased them and been burned, or we've had friends who have purchased and been burned, or we're other sports fans like baseball fans, and we're like, holy shnikes, what the heck is going on? I don't want anything to do with it. But I think as the season's worn on, and as we've been, reading more and listening more and watching podcasts and watching and looking at pictures, I'm hearing decent stuff. I can't wait I still have not gotten my hands on anything yet, but I'm looking forward to that in a good couple of weeks to draw my own conclusions. But what's your opinion on the new Fanatics gear?
I'm interested to see it. I give them a shot, right? See if they improve. To say the least. But the Adidas shirts were always good. They always seem. I don't think they seem like they held up pretty well, more or less. Me personally, I love the white road jerseys because you can always see a little bit more wear and tear.
You and me both, Rob. I am a road. What is it? I'm married to the road sweat. Everybody always asks, they're like, hey, if you do pre-order, I know that everybody likes to go to the home games and say, hey, he's wearing my shirt and I got to see it. That's all good and well.
Yeah.
Watch them on the road games, and I'll watch the road games all the time and go, look at that mark. Look at that mark. That's that's.
Yeah, I like the wear and tear on the shirts, and I like to see the proof on it. So it's like I kind of do like the white roads more than any other shirt that they wear. So it's you'll notice that in my collection I got a little bit more white roads than I do the blue homes. So.
But everything from alts to reverse retro to retro, what have you, you run the gamut. And I think that shows a true appreciation too. You're not sworn to just, I'm only going to get the road, great. The roads are awesome. And you can see some wonderful, wonderful things hanging over your shoulder and parallel to your shoulder. But the fact that you jump into, you swim in other lanes makes me happy as a collector, because I'm all for variations on this stuff. It's just, as a collector, you want as much diversity as you can grab, especially from one team. And with yours, with the 220 plus pieces, sir, again, well done. Even though Wings run deep, obviously, as a Blue Jackets fan / one who appreciates the franchise, is there a favorite moment over the last X years or entire history? I mean, they've also worn some patches. There's been an All-Star. There's been a lot of different things. By the way, I've never owned one. I've always been partial to the woolen crest on the cannon front. Yes, and you're probably much better at this than I am with naming, year or alt or what have you. I love that. That's a gorgeous, gorgeous sweater. At any rate, got a favorite moment over the history of the franchise?
When they first made the playoffs, that was it's that old story, that saying is, there's nothing like playoff hockey, right? So my wife and I, we traveled to DC when they played the Caps.
Mm-hmm.
They lost.
They're a pain in the butt, man. Yes.
We traveled to Boston. I thought we were gonna die there. We were like the only two Blue Jacket fans, and we were sitting we had some really good seats there, and they ended up losing that game. So it seems like every playoff game that we went to on the road, they lost. So, but it was a great experience. Those are fun times. Hopefully we'll get back there soon. But just for the jerseys, there was that one where Werenski, it wasn't a good time for him. He took that puck to the face. But I own that jersey that he was wearing. So it's it's documented all up that way on the cert. So that's kind of cool. But I told him that, and he's like, yeah, I don't want to see that one anymore. So
Understood. Of course, Columbus, one of the partner teams with MeiGray, and there's a handful if you want to get on the list. And Rob's not ahead of you as far as the request list. Sales@meigray.com. Contact. Go to meigray.com. Obviously, a lot of fantastic Columbus pieces. A lot of fantastic Columbus pieces in Mr. Kotowski's collection. As I hit a microphone stand on my desk. It's volume 44 of Tales from the Warehouse Collector Spotlight. Talking to Rob and having a good time doing it. Rob, is there a piece that you would like to acquire in the Columbus realm that you either have never seen or I know it exists and I know where it is? But I'd just like to add that one.
I would say the one that it's like really on the bucket list would be a Lyle Odeline, the first captain jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It's home road, I don't care. And I've talked to a lot of collectors that collect Columbus stuff, and nobody knows where they're at. It's
Interesting.
So if I had to guess, maybe a high sponsor, maybe it's in the family that own, McConnell family and their archives. I know a lot of teams, they keep certain things, but, hopefully it didn't get caught up and put into a hockey card. But it's one of those things where that'd probably be the one of the top ones that I would love to have.
Tell me a little bit about the Blue Jackets collecting community. A big, robust, lots and lots, or you'd like there to be more?
There's a good amount. Nothing compared to like an original 6, but I can tell you the experience that I've had with the collectors that are out there. Good people. They really are. They're good people, always willing to listen to offers or trades, or, I've made some swaps and stuff like that. I'd rather do swaps and sell. It's kind of more fun to get something back in return. And, once the newness maybe wears off just a little bit, you can part with one here or there, but, they're good people. They really are. They like to educate. There's a good handful, in some of the Facebook, game worn forums for Columbus stuff. So, there's some people that take a lot of pride in, making sure that everybody knows what the hem patches look like on the inside, the set patches, what the jerseys looked like 15, 20 years ago, if there are any prototypes that were out there, what they could have looked like, what the jerseys and everything could have looked like. So, it's definitely a cool, group of people, and, I'm happy to be part of it.
It's always no matter what team, it's always a giving community, and we appreciate stories like that, just like we appreciate stories like yours. As somebody who's been doing this for a decent amount of time, is there advice that let me rephrase, because some people don't like to give advice. It's sort of incumbent upon you gain experience, you should want to share. If you want to clam up because it makes you uncomfortable, and I'm not obviously talking to you, that's all good and well, but you seem like a guy who, of course, don't do as I say, do as I do, or don't do as I did, do as I say, because I've learned a lot through the years. Is there advice that you give to new collectors starting out in the hobby, be they NHL wide or juniors or minors or, Blue Jackets? Is there stuff that you like to share?
My biggest thing is just kind of do your homework. There's a lot of stuff out there that may not be 100% authentic. There's a lot of people that can make things look authentic, and it's not. The other advice I give you is be very careful getting into the hobby, because it can be very addictive and it can cost you a lot of money. So, it's one of those things where it's something fun. It's something where you can kind of be part of the game. You can own some stuff from some of your favorite players. The people that got me involved in it and educated me and started teaching me about it, they're always cool about it. Showed me their collections. I was amazed with some of the cool things that they had. And nobody was ever, like, oh, you don't want to do this, or gave me or pushed me down the wrong path. It was where I think we're all kind of that way. I mean, to me, it's not like you're really, they're out there. I mean, the jerseys are out there. It's just kind of do your homework, know what you're getting into, and, just be prepared that some of them are going to cost quite a bit, and some of them you can get for a pretty good deal.
The family angle, you mentioned, whether it was Werenski or whomever, sign pucks, sign helmets, sign this, sign that. Do your daughters get involved in this at all? Do they like dad's hobby? Do they, want to try them on? Do they, do they connect a little bit better to you or to the Jackets because of the collection?
They all got their own Columbus Blue Jacket jerseys. And we put photos out there on Facebook, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're scarring your kids for life," because we're here in Detroit, right? So, but no, she's got my one daughter that came to the shop when Zach was there. She's got that puck in a puck case on her dresser, and when we go to Red Wing games, she's right over by the Zamboni gate when they're cleaning off all the pucks and warm ups, and she's grabbing pucks. She's probably got a couple dozen warm up pucks from the Joe or from Little Caesars Arena now, and so they enjoy it. They they got their favorite Red Wings, but they also like going to the Blue Jacket games.
So there you go. There's your dual citizenship. You can't do it for the college teams, but you can do it for Columbus and for Detroit. You mentioned a little earlier that you're a wear and tear guy. Any sort of trends that you like to either hop on or poke holes in the game worn collection? I mean, I know a lot of people are like, the wear, for instance, and then you get a sweater and it's all sorts of torn up, and you're like, I know it's not going to look like a sweater from the 70s where a guy wore it for the entire freaking season, but he may have, thanks to fabric and thanks to his style, he may still put 10 to 15 to 20 repairs on each sleeve. God bless. And that still makes us happy. And then you get the dudes with the Velcro inserts and they, a little clamp down here, a little tie down here. And all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Forget I ever even complained about wear as a trend.
Yeah. Some of them have definitely some customization to them, which is kind of neat to see. And then even when you go to the games, you're kind of like looking at, where their elbow pads are and their slash guards are at, how the jerseys just fit perfectly right up there, and you can kind of see the alteration. So some of them that you can actually see in person on your shirts that you have, and then you see it in the game, it's kind of gives you a little bit more appreciation to some of the neat things that they do. But it's definitely nice when you get a jersey, especially a road white, that has just tons of rips or tears, or even the stitching. A lot of them they're using these seal-on patches now. It seems like just easy and stuff like that. But some of them where they're you get some stuff with some sewing repairs and stuff like that, or reinforcements around the neck on the inside if they're fighting a lot. Those are definitely cool to see, and those that kind of makes it like when you get your jerseys in when they arrive, especially if you do a pre-order, you take a little bit more like, yeah, this is a sweet shirt, or man, this one didn't have much wear on it, but this one does. So
you said the magic word. If you want to pre-order, contact MeiGray, sales@meigray.com. Obviously, they are your home for the Blue Jackets. Rob, you don't have to tell me which ones. Did we get involved with the pre-order for this season? A couple.
Yeah, I got
maybe just, it's good enough.
a couple coming.
You don't have to give me any more information. We'll reach out on social media. Thank you very, very much for making time. We appreciate it. It's Blue Jackets collector Rob Kotowski in our latest Collector Spotlight, Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 44. For Rob, I'm Scott. The warehouse is closed.